This is Gerardo Del Real with Resource Stock Digest. Joining me today is the president and CEO of Rockridge Resources, Mr. Jordan Trimble. Jordan, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well, thanks.
It's a tough junior resource market. You have done a brilliant job of bringing in assets that have had historical work done and really high grade assets that have excellent exploration potential. Always good when you start a drill program and accomplish and exceed actually exactly what you were looking to do. You reported your first couple of holes from this initial drill program at the flagship Knife Lake project. You hit some good numbers. It's shallow, it's high grade. One intercept was 33.1 meters starting from 7.5 meters downhole. You had 1.28% copper and 1.49% copper equivalent. You got to be happy there. Can you provide a little bit of context as to what the approach was to these first two holes, and then we could talk about the rest of the program?
Yeah, so no, it's a great start to the program. You know, the first hole, that 33-meter zone, basically just below surface of almost 1.5% copper equivalent is a great start to the program. That's better than we were expecting, and it was drilled in an area that we needed to do some confirmation drilling in. So this is all working towards a NI 43-101 resource estimate that we should have out in the next several months. The second hole as well, some high-grade mineralization, a 43.8 meter zone of 0.78% copper and about 0.93% copper equivalent. So you have some gold, some silver, some zinc, and some cobalt in there as well, but predominantly copper. So again, you know, great start to the program. These are the first two holes in a 12-hole drill program. We drilled just over 1,000 meters. I will note that some of the holes yet to be announced are expansion holes, and hopefully will bump up the historical resource estimate. So we're excited to get the final assays back and get the QA/QC done, interpretation, all that done, so we can announce in probably what will be several more news releases. So just getting back to kind of a quick overview of the strategy. As you're well aware, this is a new company, copper company, acquired this project, Knife Lake, not so long ago, late last year, raised some money, fully funded for this program and for programs going forward. But one of the things that we looked at was going into historical prolific mining districts in good jurisdictions. Saskatchewan ranked number 3 by the Fraser Institute globally for mining, and going in with modern exploration techniques and methodologies to test new ideas. And so Knife Lake really fit the bill. It's in the Flin Flon Greenstone belt, just northwest of Flin Flon. It's a project that had a lot of historical work in the 80s and 90s. The last meaningful work program was in 2001, so just under 20 years ago, and so not a lot of recent work and or exploration. So that's what's exciting for us, is we're going into a project that obviously has a historical resource at a lot of exploration discovery potential that we think is relatively untested using modern techniques. And this first drill program we're testing some of these new ideas as well as going back into the historical resource. And as you can see with the results today, generating some good drill results. So as I said, we'll come out with more news releases over the next several weeks and months with additional final assay results following that 43-101 resource estimate. And that will all segue into a summer program which will focus on some of the regional potential. And, again, this is a polymetallic, predominantly copper, though VMS deposit that is shallow. A lot of the historical work did not go, or drilling did not go any deeper than 100 meters. And so what's intriguing to us is it's a remobilized VMS deposit. So it's come from a primary source, and the primary source has not been found yet. And there's there's some indications deeper down that there could be mineralization, higher grade mineralization at depth. That's something yet to be tested, but also regionally, VMS deposits typically never occur alone or in isolation. They come in clusters. This is just a one-off deposit on a topographic high that was discovered many decades ago, and not a lot of regional work that was done to follow up on it. So we think there's the potential for more to be found regionally, which is what the summer work program will go out there. We'll look for new targets and refine existing targets.
Excellent summary. Now, I'll tell you what gets me excited. The VMS deposits obviously tend to happen in clusters. So the fact that you're stepping out and doing some exploration and expansion drilling is important. The second thing I'm really excited about is you happen to be in an area that's getting a lot of attention right now, Jordan, from the majors. Can you speak to that a bit? Because I know you have your finger on the pulse of what's going on there nearby.
Yeah, so for those that aren't familiar with the Flin Flon camp, it's really been one of the more prolific mining jurisdictions in Canada for a very, very long time, right? Discovery of mineralization in 1915. It's produced over 170 million tons of sulfide ore from over 30 deposits. One of the interesting things too with Flin Flon, over 50% of deposits have been advanced to production, right? So when you find these VMS and VMS deposits, they're typically a bit lower in tonnage, but can be quite high grade. And so a lot of these deposits that have been found in this part of Canada are put through to production, and we've now seen over the last little while a lot of money go into infrastructure, road, rail, power, water in particular. Just south of our project, some new power lines that have gone in there, so the infrastructure is good in the area. And the other thing too is just your timelines, right? Typically, there's less than 7 years from discovery through to development with reduced capital expenditures on these deposits. So good infrastructure, long history of mining. Flin Flon's known for that. And in particular, in the last year and a half, because I will note, the last 6 or 7 years, it hasn't been a great mining market. In the Flin Flon camp, you do see it go through and suffer, if you will, from the cyclicality of the commodities and metals sector, right? And so we've seen it now coming out of a bear market, and in particular, the last year and a half, you've had some notable regional developments, and this is important for where we stand in the area.
Yep.
Start with Glencore. Glencore's partnership with a junior miner called Foran, just south of us and west of Flin Flon. So they're helping advance Foran's flagship project, the McIlvenna Bay deposit, through a feasibility study. So it's good to see the largest commodities company, one of the largest commodities companies in the world, take an interest in this part of the world, in this jurisdiction. And then more recently, just in the last several months, you've had a couple of other notable developments in the area, starting with a company called, not to be confused with Rockridge, but Rockcliff, a company in the area, active in the area, recently announced a $30 million bought deal with a private equity group out of London, Greenstone. And so their plan is to develop and mine from a handful of VMS deposits, similar to what we have at Knife Lake in the area, and then ship the ore, process the ore at a mill called the Bucko Mill, a hub and spoke strategy. So to see that kind of money come into the area for a junior company is quite exciting, needless to say. And then last but not least, and the big company historically in this area is Hudbay, multi-billion-dollar mining company. It's been a tough, call it 10 years for them in the area with at Flin Flon, but there's been some good news more recently, a new discovery that they've made right beside their existing Lalor mine. And so that's reinvigorated the area a little bit as well. So you've had, in the last year and a half, 3 major regional developments in the Flin Flon camp, and I think that that's going to bring more interest back to this area. We've seen some very exciting discoveries over the last 30 or 40 years. They're VMS polymetallic deposits, so they're high grade, and that's something I think for investors to get excited about because you're going in there and you have the potential to drill high grade results, and that's anyone investing in exploration discovery stories. That's really where you get the most bang for your buck.
Couldn't agree more. You mentioned it had been a tough 10 years for them. It seems like for us in the resource space, 8 of the last 10 have been very tough years. But we know that the longer this market takes to bottom, the more violent the upside is when it turns. That's why we are all investors and speculators in this space. So congrats, Jordan, on an excellent start to an important drill program. And I love the strategy of getting out there, validating historical results, exceeding those, pivoting to some expansion drilling, 43-101. That's a clear path towards and an accretive strategy, obviously. So congrats there, and I look forward to having you back on to report on the news results as they come out.
Perfect. No, thanks for having me, and we'll be chatting soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.